Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the No Ceilings NBA podcast feed. I'm Stephen Gillaspie, one of the co-hosts of the Draft Sicko shows and staff writer for NoCeilingsNBA.com. It's 100% free. You should go check it out. I'm without my co-host, but I have a great show lined up for everybody watching on YouTube. You can already see it, but for those listening, I have a very special guest. He is 6'7", 195-pound freshman from Bristol, Virginia. He is a New York State federal champion with Long Island Lutheran, and it was a member of the Team Mello EYBL program. And now he is a member of the reigning champions in college basketball, the UConn Huskies. Jayden Ross. Jayden, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
Man, I can't complain. Life's good, just spending time with family, watching basketball. Nothing else better in life, right, man? So I'm living good, man.
That's awesome.
Yes, sir. All right, so I understand that you recently just participated in first night for UConn. So I've never been to that, so I'm kind of curious, man. And I'm sure some of the listeners and readers might not be familiar with that program as well. But what's that like, man? Being a freshman, you're going and experiencing kind of like what the UConn faithful is like. How was that for you?
Man, it was an amazing first experience. Just being able to go through something like that for the first time, being a part of something that you like, it kind of starts to hit you for a little bit. Like this is like something really big you're a part of. So even just walking through the arena, seeing the stands fill up, and just going out and having fun in front of all those people is amazing. There's nothing like it.
I heard you put up some nasty dunks. Is that rumor true?
So we were supposed to have a little dunk contest. You're talking about that throughout the
Okay.
season. I've been practicing a few dunks. I got a little dunk package I was putting together, but like a week before we found out they weren't doing a dunk contest. So and then the day before they're like, we're just gonna do like a dunk showcase. So I went out, just did one dunk. It was me versus one of my other teammates. I did one dunk, he did one dunk, and then they did like a little vote at the end. I think I won. I don't really remember. It wasn't too organized though, but it was fun for sure. The other thing I participated in was the 3-point contest. So that and the other thing was fun for sure.
That sounds like a good time, man. I'm sure you showed out. You're being a little bit modest, but that's okay. All right, so all right, so Jayden, I've watched a lot of film on you in preparation for the season. I'm a big fan already, man. And when I see where some of these other like reputable basketball outlets have had you ranked, things like that, I think I kind of know why that's the case, but I want to kind of let you speak on that a little bit. Now, from what I understand, you were at about 5'8" to start your like your high school basketball career. Is that true?
Yeah, high school.
And
Yeah.
then you grew up to 6'7", right? So I imagine the recruitment process from when you were 5'8" to 6'7" was night and day difference. Am I right?
Oh, for sure, 100%.
So what's it like, man? Growing like obviously you're getting the attention, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But what's it like being a basketball player starting out at one height, and then like your body is changing as you're playing basketball? Was there like any hard adjustments or anything like that when you're kind of hitting these growth spurts?
Well, the first thing I'd say is it was kind of something we'd all been waiting for. Both my parents are pretty tall. Both my parents are pretty tall. 7th to 8th grade, I had enormously sized feet for some reason, so I was just waiting for the little growth spurt. So just starting off middle school, high school career, being a guard, I feel like that helped translate my game a lot because you're training all that time. I have in my opinion, one of the best trainers. He's training me to be a guard. So, beginning of my high school career, I start off point guard, shooting guard, handling the ball, can shoot it. And then all of a sudden, my 9th grade year is over. It wasn't cut short. COVID hit. And then, just throughout all of COVID, I think COVID was a bit of a blessing in a way because I got the opportunity right when COVID hit is when I started to grow. So I went from about 5'10" at that point to probably around 6'4", 6'5", and then I've grown 2-3 inches since then. So during that time during COVID, just staying in shape, working on my game every single day. Obviously we weren't playing too much, but just being able to use that time to adjust to my growth and try and maintain everything that I had as a smaller player and use that to my advantage as a bigger player. Allows my game to be very versatile. So I think that the growth spurt has just helped me in so many different ways. And the recruiting, ninth grade, I wasn't really I wasn't getting looked at too much. 10th grade hit, we didn't play again. I didn't play AAU that year, but we had one game, and I think I had like 18 points. It was like a closed game. I went to St. James at the time, so it was a closed game. We played. I don't think we won, but I played all right for our first game in like a year or so. And I think I had like 20 points. And my coach, Coach Breslin at the time, he sent out some film, and that sparked some interest. And then I went to AAU, and it just started to pick up from there.
That's interesting stuff, and I think that people have quickly kind of forgotten, like, the impact of COVID too, because for a while, like, everything was shut down, and once we've been starting to kinda, like, go out and to try to, like, establish this new normal, I think people still kind of underestimate the impact that COVID had, not just in the immediacy of it, but, like, kinda like the chronic outcome of it as well, right? Because during this time, we're all trying to figure out what to do with our lives, and then we start getting these sports back, and we just go back to watching it like normal. But meantime, prospects like yourself, you're growing, you're adapting to your game, things like that. Was it kind of like, in my head, I'm picturing it like you were essentially cryogenically frozen until you were able to play basketball again, and then you're out in front of everybody, and then people were probably like, "Who's this 6'7", ball handling, sweet shooting wing?" All of a sudden, is that essentially kind of like what happened?
Yeah, basically. So as I mentioned a little bit, just being able to use that time to not only try and keep up with my body and maintain my game, I also use that time to grow and make my
Mm.
shot more consistent and work on my ball handling a little more. And even to this day, I'm not too satisfied with it, but my strength, my weight, that time I got during that time period, I think was essential for my career for sure.
Awesome stuff. Awesome stuff. So let's back up a little bit. So, from what I understand, from conversations that I've had, you've kind of come from an athletic family, people with, kind of a sports background. I think that that's important, and people talk about it a little bit, but I'm curious if you might be able to share that kind of like family history with sports.
Yeah, for sure. I think starting from the beginning, the first thing I know of, my grandfather, he played football, went to Grambling State on a scholarship, and then he actually played in the NFL with the Eagles for a few years.
Mm.
Um, Obviously, my dad, 6'4", he played basketball, football, baseball, all those sports, and he was pretty good at all of them. And ended up accepting a scholarship to Rutgers for football, and he played there for his career. My mom, she played volleyball and basketball in high school. She was good at both. She had scholarships for both. I think she won a state championship in high school, and then she also went to Rutgers to go play volleyball. So, and she's about 6'1", pretty athletic back in her time. So, I definitely have good genes for sure.
Absolutely. That's interesting, and I think that's something that people kind of like to know about prospects, like when they're coming in. What's the DNA, right? Like the saying, you can't run away from the DNA. So it's pretty interesting to hear that your family lineage is just like rooted in sports. So just only it makes sense that you just kind of have like this natural aptitude for the game of basketball. So
Yeah.
I want to kind of ask you a little bit, uh, favorite teams, favorite players growing up, like any sort of inspirations in the game of basketball?
Um, my immediate thought is my close family. I'm pretty close family with J.R. Smith and his family. So knowing that growing up, just watching him, that definitely inspired me to play basketball for sure. Just watching his game, especially at the Knicks, the Nuggets, those teams. Um,
Mhm.
I remember my first ever NBA game was a Wizards game back in like second grade, and ever since then, and as you already mentioned, I was smaller then. I was a guard. I didn't know how much I was going to grow. So one of my favorite players growing up that I tried to you just learn from and imitate was John Wall and Bradley Beal and those players. So I watched them basically throughout growing up throughout elementary school and middle school, and just watching them, they were definitely my favorite team to watch.
That's fun stuff. It makes me feel a little bit old that those are the players you grew up. See, when I grew up watching the Wizards, I started falling in love with players like Gilbert Arenas, Caron Butler, Deshaun Stevenson,
Yeah.
Eton Thomas, that whole crew there. But yeah, I mean, basketball is something that I feel like it's like most things, right? Like when you fall in love with it at a certain age, it's something that you're going to have an interest in your whole life. That's why I like breaking down the draft and talking to prospects such as yourself. But in doing research for this piece, one thing that I think that you've kind of referenced historically, Jayden, is that you had an incredible peach jam moment, right? That kind of like really had people take notice of you. I was watching an interview that you did for 24/7, and that was one of the things that you mentioned was that I was at Peach Jam and I had a good run. And then Adam Finkelstein said, "Yeah, I remember I was there." So can you kind of talk about what that experience was like? What's the importance of a Peach Jam event and doing and performing so well at it?
Yeah, so just kind of starting from the beginning, this was my 10th grade going into 11th grade year. I just came off that, that kind of COVID year. And then we played the one game. And now I get to play in front of these coaches that have, I've sparked an interest in. It's my first time playing EYBL, something every middle schooler and young basketball player dreams of playing in. Just seeing the kind of environment they play in every single game, all the college coaches, all the people there, all the support is amazing. So just going into those events with the confidence that you can even play with all those great players is essential, especially playing in front of all those coaches. I had a great team around me, Coach Zito, Coach Hetzel, the whole staff, Coach Sam. They invited me to Team Mello, and it was just I had an amazing experience playing with, they ended up being some of my best friends, like some people that
Mm.
I will never lose that relationship with. So being able to play with them, and allowing people to really see my game for the first time coming out of COVID with them was an amazing experience. And just being able to showcase what I've been working on throughout COVID, it felt like all my work had finally started to pay off. So it was a great feeling.
Yeah, I'd say so. I mean, you got that increased level of interest after that event. And you talked about playing in front of some of these coaches. Now, you had some pretty strong universities offer you scholarships, several of which, from what I've been able to research that you visited. But ultimately, you obviously committed to UConn. And when I've heard you speak of this commitment, is that one thing that you reference is that it just kind of felt right. Could you share why you kind of experienced that feeling? Was it just the environment, like the aesthetics of the university, the people you met? Could you kind of like dig a little deeper in on that?
Yeah, so it just kind of started to fall in line from the beginning. A lot of people don't really know this, but that one of our tournaments before PSHAM, actually, it was a live period. We were playing in Atlantic City, and Coach Hurley was there, and I think he was leaving like a 17U game, and he had stumbled over to our court. He has a bit of a connection with Coach Sam, one of the coaches at Team Mello, and he was watching our game, and I guess I sparked a little bit of interest in him as well. And he had notified that to my coach, and he had let me know. And so since then, I kind of knew, and that's one of the cool things I wanted to touch on is, a
Sure.
lot of universities that are in recruiting, it's a lot of the time it's the assistant coach, and that's not an issue, but it's a bit of a different feel, a bit of a different connection, especially when it's the head coach. So the head coach, Coach Hurley himself, he kind of led the recruitment for me, which kind of connected with me a little bit more than the other schools. And UConn being a big program, it's one of those programs you watch since you're a kid. I've watched
Yeah.
UConn since I was like 7. So, it's definitely a dream school for me for sure. I have a lot of family up here that went to the school. And then the visit I came on was just, it was amazing. Like you can't really describe it too much. They did a great job recruiting me and the rest of my class as well. So, the academic piece was there. They produced a lot of NBA players, and obviously that's the end goal. They have a winning culture. It all just fits.
It makes a lot of sense to me, man. So you're committing to UConn, and then it felt in my ramp up, obviously, it just kind of felt immediate, right? Like you go to UConn, and then it's like, hey, mom and dad, we're gonna go play overseas against a couple of teams, right? And obviously, you were fortunate enough to go along and do really well. First off, what's it like going over to Europe? You know, you're leaving high school, you're committing, you're making a major life decision, and next thing you know, you're showing out in front of people in a country that I don't know if you've ever been to before, right? But can you share what that experience was like?
Yeah, one, I've never left the country before, so it was an amazing experience for sure. It just kind of touches on the fact that, basketball or sport, it can bring you so many different places when you work at it. So going over there for the first time and just being able to spend that time with my new teammates and playing over there, it's a whole different feel over there. It was an amazing experience. We weren't only playing basketball, but we were connecting off the court, doing a bunch of other activities, and then getting to play with them for the first time against other competition outside of ourselves was fun. Was fun too as well. So just being able to learn the system that we play in a little bit more while being overseas and having fun was dope for sure.
Can you give me one fun moment that y'all had while y'all were over there?
You want off the court?
Either one.
Either one. There was a lot. There's a lot that we did. So we were in Barcelona and we had toured a few different places. We had actually went to a Barcelona soccer game, which was cool. Just being able to experience that and seeing what that's like over there. It's crazy. It was a preseason game too, which is wild because there's a lot of people there, having a good time. And then we got to visit, a few other different landmarks at Barcelona that you think of when you think of the city. So just being able to see those for the first time outside of the country was amazing.
Cool stuff. All right, so UConn is now in a title defense season, right? Like they're the reigning champions, big target on their back, all that fun stuff, right? And there's a lot of people interested in a lot of other players on the team, right? Like Donovan Clingan, Alex Caravan, Cam Spencer, returning prospects. What was the kind of like the introduction to those, kind of older upperclassmen on the roster? Was there hey, let's come alongside, let's kind of teach you the culture that we have here? What was it like kind of meeting those guys?
First off, they were real welcoming. We've bonded since day one. They were actually my original roommates. Actually, all three of them were my original roommates, which is funny to think about.
Oh, perfect.
That before that. But yeah, just connecting with them and just knowing that they know what it takes, following last year, just learning the ropes and going into practice every day, learning the system that we play in, just being able to learn from them and absorb as much as I can from them, their mentality, physically, what it's like on the court is a special opportunity because not a lot of players get the opportunity to come to a program that just won the national championship. So it's a little bit of, I don't want to say pressure behind it, but it's definitely motivating, knowing that you're playing for one of the best programs in the country.
That's good. Yeah. And I think too that I don't know what it's like for you, obviously, like, coming in, this is your first season, probably watching these guys play basketball on TV and stuff like that. Was there like oh man, like I didn't know this. Like I wouldn't have pictured that this person is like this or that they have these, types of interests or anything like that. Was there kind of like one of those moments for you with any of them?
I wouldn't say too much. I think on the visit, I got to know them pretty well. Obviously, I didn't know Cam at the time.
Yeah.
But getting to meet them all for the first time, we all kind of bonded. We all kind of got a good relationship with each other, the whole team. So I wouldn't say it was too much of a surprise getting to know them off the court. I know watching them play for the first time and like practice on the court is just like, it's like, wow, like these guys are really good. These guys are really good.
You guys were on TV. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, they're all great guys and we're gonna have a good year for sure.
Absolutely. All right. So I got some questions now. They're going to be more kind of, you-centric, working towards this season, right? Because that's what everybody's kind of wondering about. So what areas of your game do you have like a concerted effort to like build upon this year?
My first thing for sure that I'm working on right now is my strength, my weight.
Okay.
I probably gained about 10 to 15 pounds since I've been here. So just continuing to work on that, especially playing in the Big East, one of the more physical
Yeah.
conferences in the country, is something that I think will help get me on the court. Um, Aside from that, on the court specifically, I would say my ball handling, my finishing. I think my shooting's at a point where it's pretty consistent. Um, I think my defense is getting to a point where it's pretty consistent. Last year was pretty good, but obviously it's not the same high school and college. There's a bit of an adjustment, learning reads and a bunch of different things. Um, so I'll say, yeah, those are my top three. Just continuing to work on my ball handling in college, because it's a little bit different from high school with, the type of defenders you play against, finishing over the bigger players, and then just, just trying to gain as much weight as I can comfortably.
All right, that makes a lot of sense to me. So I know that I've referenced, title a lot when talking about UConn, defending titles, reigning champion, things like that. Obviously, that's an attraction to someone who's looking to make the jump into the NBA. But what's your mindset like, right? Like you're coming onto this team with a lot of established players. What's your mindset going into a year trying to contribute to a team that where a championship is ultimately the end goal?
I kind of touched on it earlier, but just knowing that they have the blueprint, the coaches and the players, they know what they're doing. They put a lot of players in the league. So just trying to absorb as much as I can and learn from the coaches, because they did it last year, and the players, they know what it's like personally being on the court. So just learning their mindset, just being in the gym every single day as much as I can, and improving, and learning the system that we play in, because we talk about it every day. UConn has one of the best and most complicated offenses in the country. So just being able to learn that, I feel like I can play in almost any system.
Yeah, I mean that offense was humming a lot. It's brought a lot of attention to a lot of players, and definitely something a school that I'm very much so looking forward to watching play, man. So, last big question I got for you, Jayden, and again, I just want to thank you for your time. Uh, the NBA is obviously like the end goal for you. Am I correct in assuming that?
Yes, sir.
All right, so it that being said, if you're pitching yourself essentially to like an NBA front office, what could an NBA team expect if they're looking to invest, draft capital into Jayden Ross?
Well, I think they could expect, almost exactly what they're looking for. And obviously, I have a lot to work on still, before I get to that point. But, you have a 6'7", 6'8", possibly still growing wing, that's very versatile, can shoot off the dribble, can handle the ball, play and guard positions, 1 through 4, sometimes 5, and just plays really hard. And I think one thing that's also important in the NBA is the character and the personality, and I think I have that to go with it as well. I don't have a big ego. I think I could represent the league well, and I think that I have, I think I could bring or add to a team or a culture in that way outside of just being on the court.
And I would agree, based on the interviews that I've seen you conduct, talking to some people that are in your camp, I haven't heard a single bad thing about you. And watching you play on the court, you're just as great as a person off the floor by all accounts that I know of as you are on the floor. And I think that you speak well to that. Being an ambassador to the league is a big deal, right? Because there's so many people in the NBA have the talent, right? What's their work ethic like? How's their character? What's the kind of the the background of that player. So I think all of those things are very important. And I again, from everything that I can see, I agree with you. And I'm very much so looking forward to watching how UConn progresses this year. I'm looking forward to you seize those opportunities that I know that you're going to, man. So, Jane, I want to again thank you for your time. I know that you got a lot going on. So I just before I let you go, I want to give you an opportunity to kind of share maybe some events. I know that UConn's got the blue and white night coming up, but anything else kind of down the line, or any you feel like proclaiming anything about the way that you think that the season is going to go. But the floor is yours to share whatever you want, man.
Well, one, I appreciate the opportunity, even being on here and getting to share my story a little bit. Obviously, we have the blue and white night coming up, so getting people out to that is important, and I know that we got the fan base to be there for all of our games, so I'm not even worried about that. But aside from that, I don't think I have too much else to share. I just want to thank you for allowing me to come on.
Yeah, no problem at all, man. And I appreciate you having on. Probably invite you back on to kind of see, where the kind of then and now, but we'll talk about that off to the side. But Jayden, again, thank you so much for your time. And for everybody watching and listening, just thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll catch up with y'all next time. Much love, y'all.